In this episode, I'm going to talk about 4 different bands, and you may think that they were one-hit wonders. Now, they really weren't, but a lot of people would think so because each of the bands recorded a song that so overwhelmed everything else that they did, it became their signature song. And the 4 bands that I'm going to look at are the Barbarians, the Standells, Strawberry Alarm Clock, and the Electric Prunes. All right, are we ready to go back in time and seek out these not quite one-hit wonders? Then let's drop the needle. In 1964, in Massachusetts, 4 friends decided to start a band, and they called themselves the Barbarians. They consisted of a drummer whose name was Victor, but he went by the stage name of Molty Moulton. Then there was Bruce Benson, Ronnie Enos, and Jerry Causey. Molty had lost his hand in an accident when he was 14, but he used a hook prosthesis to hold a drumstick, and the band was on their way. Their first performance was so successful that they got booked for the entire summer. And as word started to spread, record companies started to take interest. So they moved to New York to try to seek their fortune. Their first single they recorded was called Hey Little Bird, but it wasn't really a hit. But it did get them invited to play on the very famous TAMI, the Tammy Show, which was done out in Santa Monica, California, where they appeared on stage along with the likes of the Rolling Stones, the Beach Boys, and James Brown. They had some personnel changes, but in 1965, they recorded the song that everybody remembers them for. And it came about because of the British invasion and how the bands all had long hair, and a lot of the males in America started to wear their hair long. And yes, the song is, "Are You a Boy or Are You a Girl?" Now, ironically, by this time, the Barbarians all had long hair. They toured pretty extensively, and in 1966, they had a follow-up with a song called Molty, which was the story of their drummer Molty, his accident, and how he lost his hand. But by 1967, the Barbarians were laid to waste, and they disbanded. But it did have one big song, and that is, "Are You a Boy or Are You a Girl? With your long brown hair, you look like a girl. Yeah, you may be a boy, but you look like a girl." Our next, not really a one-hit wonder band, was formed in Los Angeles in 1962. Now, I'll bet that when I say the name of this band, most of you will think they were from Boston. But no, they were from LA. And their first gig was in Honolulu. Boy, talk about starting off right, I guess. But after that, they came back and started playing around clubs in Los Angeles. And they appeared in a number of movies and TV shows, like Get Yourself a College Girl and Riot on Sunset Strip, and The Munsters, and even the Ben Casey Show on TV. By 1965, then they record the song that is their signature song. And actually, it was a song that they didn't even write. By this time, the group consisted of Larry Tamblyn, Tony Valentino, Gary Lane, and Dick Dodd, who had once been a Mouseketeer. They signed with Capitol Records and met their new producer, Ed Cobb. Now, Ed had been mugged in Boston, so he wrote a song about that experience and gave it to the Standells, and they recorded it, and wow, did it take off. Everybody seemed to love that Dirty Water. Before Dirty Water was released, Dodd decides he's going to leave the group, and so he was replaced briefly by Dewey Martin, who would then go on to be the drummer for Buffalo Springfield. But as the single came out and quickly went to #1, Dodd decides he'll come back and rejoin the Standells. The Standells continued to record and tour, but they never really captured the magic that was Dirty Water. But they did have some controversy with the single, which was called Try It, which was banned by a lot of radio stations because they considered it to have sexual lyrics. By 1968, the band had fallen on really hard times, but interestingly enough, by regrouping and other people along, like so many acts from those days, they continue to be active today. Now, in 1997, the song Dirty Water was adopted by the Boston Red Sox and is played at their home games in Fenway Park whenever they win. And now it's so popular that the Boston Celtics and the Boston Bruins played at their games as well. So if you're going to have one song to be thought of, Dirty Water is a pretty good song. Our next group also came out of Los Angeles, this time in 1965. And they were really a garage band. They formed and they were rehearsing in a garage where they met a guy who said, hey, you guys are pretty good and you should actually form the band, create a name for it. So they kicked all kinds of options around and couldn't come up with anything. And they kept coming back to a joke. Well, the joke is what stuck. And they called themselves the Electric Prunes. Their first single was called Ain't It Hard, and it went nowhere. But their second single is what people remember the Electric Prunes for. It was the big hit, I Had Too Much to Dream Last Night. It soared to number 11 on the charts. And then they actually had a hit with their next release, Get Me to the World on Time. But I Had Too Much to Dream Last Night is the song everyone remembers. They released 2 albums, but their second album had no hits on it, so it went nowhere. Then they did a third album, but by this time, only one member of the band actually appears on the album. The Electric Prunes released one final album, Just Good Old Rock and Roll, but then the band broke up in 1970. But like others in this episode, they have reformed with new members, and they're out there still touring and still having too much to dream each night. Our last group also comes out of LA, and they're a psychedelic band. They're called the Strawberry Alarm Clock, and their big hit that defines them is Incense and Peppermints. It was their first single, and it quickly rose to number 1 and prompted their first album, also called Incense and Peppermints. In 1968, they recorded their second album, Wake Up It's Tomorrow, and it produced a minor hit called Tomorrow. The band appeared on TV, on American Bandstand, Happening 68, and Laugh-In. They also appeared in 2 films, Psych Out and Beyond the Valley of the Dolls. Ah, what a classic that is. And then in 1970, they broke up. But like the others, they have reformed with new people and continue to tour even today. So there you have it. 4 bands that were defined by one song. You've got the Electric Prunes with I Had Too Much to Dream Last Night. Strawberry Alarm Clock with Incense and Peppermint. The Standells, of course, with Dirty Water. And the Barbarians with Are You a Boy or Are You a Girl? I guess if you're going to have one song define your group, those are pretty good ones. As usual, I've got a link for my playlist on Spotify, and here it is, so you can hear some of the songs that I've talked about in this episode. Thanks for watching, and in the meantime, keep it rockin'. If you liked this episode, hit the like button, and you can also leave me a comment down below, and I'll respond to you. If you subscribe, we'll let you know when future episodes come out.